Data Ownership Protocol, DOP, one of the most hotly anticipated crypto projects launching this year, and yet it's launching into one of the most bloody crypto markets that we have seen for quite some time. However, I've drawn similarities between the hype and excitement behind this project and another one that launched recently, Aethir. In this video, we're going to identify those similarities as well as understand what it is that's got the DOP community so hyped and excited about this project. We're also going to look at the launch that's taking place in the next 24 hours and identify a strategy for potentially capturing the best value entering into this coin. So do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's find out about DOP. Now guys, before we dive in and find out more about it, let's look at the overall situation in the market, what's been happening over the past few months. Because Bitcoin basically topped out on the 11th of March and then basically has been in somewhat of a decline since and is testing these lows here, causing a huge amount of panic and confusion, which has resulted in basically the altcoin market getting absolutely destroyed. But it's not all doom and gloom, because while certain new projects out there that launched unfortunately around that peak in the market for Bitcoin, like gaming, have been absolutely decimated, other projects that have been launching after the big major sell-off, such as Aethir, have actually shown relative strength and massively outperformed the wider altcoin market. And I put this down to the fact that Aethir has managed to accrue one of the biggest followings across crypto for a new project, with nearly 895,000 followers on Twitter, a huge Discord, Telegram, etc. And as you come across to CryptoRank.io and you look down at the right hand side, you'll see kind of the community sizes for some of these new projects. We've got Lingo coming up shortly with 525k, but few seem to have caught more attention than Data Ownership Protocol, 1.13 million followers. So what is it that caught such attention for DOP? Well, it's the fact that this project, while there are VCs involved, actually has a lot of their community investing in pre-sales, which makes for a far fairer launch than we've seen for other major launch projects recently. And I think this is potentially going to aid this project in its launch that's going to happen tomorrow. So why has it managed to capture such attention? So let's find out what it is. Well, Data Ownership Protocol, as it says on the website, an innovative approach to data ownership that sets a new standard in blockchain technology. Now, a lot of people have been talking about data ownership with the rise of coins like Jasmy, as well as the realization that a lot of our data is being taken away from us, and data is a really important asset that we should be looking after. It's easy to perhaps see why people are starting to take an interest in this. Not only that, but with the rise of tools like Nansen and all sorts of others, and the tutorials that I'm teaching you on this channel regularly, you've been able to start spying on transactions, on different wallets and things like that. What Data Ownership Protocol does is it basically gives you the option to either share information about transactions or perhaps hide that information if you so wish. And this is incredibly important, but as we look towards a future tokenized environment. Now, it's no mystery with the likes of BlackRock trying to tokenize assets at a rate of knots, and major banks around the world looking into blockchain technology, they all come with a few issues. Now, the major issue that we're looking at right now is regulation, because as crypto tries to creep in as a more mainstream technology, it's essential that the future offers some potential for regulation, but without giving up the key aspects of blockchain technology, such as decentralization, security, privacy versus transparency, etc. Now, from what I understand, Data Ownership Protocol is effectively a layer 2 built on Ethereum, and it uses something called ZK Sync, or Zero Knowledge Sync, but in a completely new way. It allows for flexibility and what is zero knowledge and what is provided as knowledge, which means that while a lot of privacy projects in crypto are suffering massively right now because of regulation uprising, DOP comes in with a solution that allows for a certain amount of transparency to conform with regulation, but at the same time offering a certain level of privacy to ensure that security is preserved. And I think that it's this particular aspect that seems to have been getting a lot of attention. But I get it, this all probably seems a bit confusing right now. So let's just think of a simple analogy of what zero knowledge really is. Now, as you know, I'm a simple non-technical guy, which means as a kid, I wasn't really reading novels. I was more looking at Where's Wally books. Or if you're American, Where's Waldo? Where you go through pages and pages like this, trying to find this guy. Now, don't worry, I haven't lost the plot. But let me simply make an example here. Now, imagine your mate over there has, found Where's Wally in every place around. He's found him at the beach, he's found him at the fair, he's found him in New York, and he's like, hey mate, I bet you for that penguin bar or that banana that you've got in your lunchbox that I've found Where's Wally on every page going. And you're like, no way, Jose. There's no chance you've done that. Prove it. And he's like, well, yeah, I could prove it, but then you're going to know where he is, and then you can also, get the credit for all this as well. So what he does is he is very ingenious. He grabs a piece of paper and he cuts out the shape of Where's Wally for this particular scene. And then what he does is he basically puts the page over the map so that you can't see the map at all, and it basically is cut in the shape of Where's Wally. He's now provided proof to you that he has found Where's Wally, but without giving away any of the secrets as to where Wally is or anything like that. So what does this mean in a real world context? Well, for example, I could show you that I have ownership of particular NFTs within my collection, but not other ones. I could show you that perhaps I hold various tokens, but without having to show you the number of tokens that I hold. And this is incredibly crucial when it comes to things like future OTC or over-the-counter deals. And perhaps I want to show you that I can invest in your company because I have the assets to do it, without showing you all the other assets and things I hold. Get the picture? Now, where it comes in so importantly in OTC deals is this. OTC deal effectively is like me basically saying that I've got $1 billion of Bitcoin that I want to sell, and I can't do it for an exchange because it will dump the price of Bitcoin. What I want to do is therefore sell it to someone else who wants it. So let's say you out there have $1 billion cash and you want to turn it into Bitcoin. There's a problem with this though, because there's lots of shady, dirty money around the world where people are trying to launder it, and it'll allow you to speculate on why that money is dirty. But ultimately, if you take dirty money and sell someone the Bitcoin, then you kind of get bought into this loop, and you don't necessarily want to be a party to this kind of shady stuff that's going down. DOP will basically clean this entire market up. So a bunch of these enormous transactions, OTC deals, could be getting run through DOP, because you'll be able to see the transparency of where that payment's come from without the individual having to give away all the information about all the other assets and things they hold. This is where zero knowledge and data ownership protocol come in and potentially offer real value. Now, this is their main kind of headers that they're focusing towards, and this is what probably is going to capture people's attention and what could potentially result in huge partnerships going forward with some major organizations out there. The flexible transparency, which I've already basically hit on, means that you can share information with certain people who you want to share it with. And this is all based on Ethereum, remember. So it takes all the useful aspects of Ethereum, like its decentralized nature, its security, etc. It rolls it all up into zero knowledge proofs, which are much more efficient to send and receive transactions, and it adds another layer of security and privacy with the kind of flexibility that we've talked about. And bearing in mind that ETH ETF is about to go live potentially in the coming days, it's going to have a potentially very positive knock-on effect in terms of the entire ETH ecosystem. But if you had to say it right now, you would probably prefer to launch right this second than you would have done back on March the 25th. Now, the regulatory compliance is also insanely important, bearing in mind the major financial centers of the world, which are New York, London, and Hong Kong, are all starting to bring in high levels of regulation compliance for new crypto projects. Therefore, it's very important that DOP is committed to regulation-friendly privacy. And they've also partnered with Chainalysis and ZK.me, which has been pretty helpful, and also they've been integrated into the Bitcoin.com wallet, which, you know, surprise, surprise, is also seemingly pretty bullish. Now, looking into the user experience side, they also say that they're ensuring the protocol is fast and easy to use, integrating DOP with familiar applications. We will make it easily accessible and user-friendly. Now, what that might mean is integrating it into a MetaMask wallet or integrating it into things that you're already using. Maybe that's on an exchange, etc. So potentially by using it, you're not really going to understand that you're using it, but it's all going to be kind of clean, easy, and simple as much as possible, even though most things in crypto, particularly for new people, are not that clean, easy, and simple to do right now. And the message here, we're democratizing data ownership for the mainstream assets you already cherish, which I think is really important, and actually probably why I've seen Jasmy grow in such hype and excitement and is one of the most hyped projects out there. Why? Because it really seems to sell the narrative that it's all about you, it's all about the people, it's all about improving your data ownership. Most of us probably didn't even realize before that data was important to us or our data ownership was important until people started to tell us how important it was. And this, I think, is something that data ownership protocols managed to use in order to bring about this following of 1.1 million followers. And for all those people who are like, yeah, this is just bots, etc. Guys, go and look at the post. 288,000 views on this particular pinned comment. Bearing in mind that right now, no one's really looking at crypto, YouTube, or Twitter. They're still seemingly getting a lot of hype and excitement behind this launch and the listing that is coming out on the 5th of July, which is not too far away, etc. Make sense? Now, obviously, if you decided this sounds interesting, what I would recommend you go and do is to come across to coinmarketcap.com and click on the white paper. Now, when you get the white paper, you'll realize it's pretty lengthy, okay? Pretty wordy. There's some good information in there, but, you know, if you're anything like me, which you probably are, just download it, paste it into Claude.ai, and then ask it a question like analyze this white paper, summarize this project, as well as provide the pros and cons. And you can see that it gives a very good summary of what's kind of going on for this particular project. Coming down below, we can see the pros: enhanced privacy, allows users to control what on-chain data analysis they share, which we've talked about. Ethereum compatibility, very key given the Ethereum ETFs coming up. Flexible disclosure, community governance, decentralized approach to platform oversight, interoperability, incentive structures, focus on users' experience, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cons, complexity. A lot of new projects are getting launched and don't really seem to drum up a lot of excitement because they're kind of complex and people don't really understand what's going on. However, DOP seems to have got 1.1 million followers because simply people do seem to understand this. Regulatory challenges is something else that Claude as an AI tool has picked up, but again we can see that that's basically one of their main focus is towards regulatory compliance. So you would have thought that they're not likely to slip up in this particular area, being that that's pretty much their bread and butter. Competition about other privacy focused blockchains, obviously that's important. Token dependency, the system relies heavily on the DOP token, which could be a point of failure. And that's actually a very interesting point that I want to highlight. Now, obviously, when we look at any project or anything out there, a point of failure is something we should be looking at, because obviously what's the impact of that point failing? We've seen Solana having a lot of downtime because of various issues, etc. But in that point, Claude has basically pointed out that the DOP token is integral to this entire operation happening. And if we're looking to invest in projects, you want to look at a project that is heavily utilizing its token. Otherwise, what are you buying the token for? Even if the project does really well, but the token's just sat on the side doing not a lot, you're not really going to see any gains of a project being used. So actually, while it's been cited as a potential risk factor, I still think it's actually a pretty bullish thing. And they had a mainnet launch back in May, and they managed to encrypt over $7 million of tokenized assets. Now, I talked about yesterday on a video, the rise of real-world asset tokens right now. We're seeing Ondo Finance exploding towards the upside. We're seeing Clearpool and a bunch of others. And it's because BlackRock and other organizations right now are talking about tokenization of assets. Therefore, DOP could also then benefit from the catalyst of BlackRock talking about tokenizing assets, because potentially as a protocol, it's going to get used to encrypt new tokenized assets from various platforms out there. And this is making me understand why when I'm going into my Discord today, not only are people talking about how bad the market conditions are, but everyone's talking about this DOP launch. But there's a lot of people right now complaining a bit about the fact that the token launch has been delayed. However, recently I was in Paris and I met with the CEO of Aethir and a bunch of other major tokens that have launched in the last few months. And basically what happens when Bitcoin and the whole altcoin market tend to fall, big projects don't really like launching that much. And why not? Because they have to reduce their valuations, because there's not so many people active in the markets, therefore they all get kind of pushed towards the side. Therefore, I would assume that it probably wasn't the fault of DOP. I would also say that there's a good chance that the evaluation that they're going to launch at is going to be lower perhaps than they were anticipating launching at, perhaps if they launched in like March, which is why a lot of those big projects that did launch in March have gone towards the downside, and projects like Aethir that got pushed back by other ones managed to hold steady. Therefore, if DOP holds steady, then there's a potential chance for us to make a good entry when it goes live. Now, after doing a little bit of digging, you can see listing time is going to be July the 5th at 8 AM UTC. And you can deposit already, I believe, to start, investing in this project right now. But let's have a look at previous launches for other coins and work out how we could secure a decent entry. Well, first of all, let's work out what exchanges it's getting listed on. So here we got Bybit. Also coming across to MEXC, we can see it's getting listed on MEXC, exactly the same time as it goes on Bybit. You can dig around as well, probably will get listed on Gate.io, whatever it might be. But the story will likely be very similar to what we saw for the Aethir launch. And there's a potential chance there to make the most of this launch. Now, what happens when crypto projects get launched onto exchanges that you need to know about? Well, basically, Aethir, DOP, whatever it is, any big project out there, when it goes live, because it's the talk of the town, like DOP very much is right now, it gets a huge amount of hype and excitement. But there's also other people out there trying to play against you, and they're called market makers, working for the exchanges. You've also got other people scheming and trying to move the price up high, move it down low, and then steady it out. Therefore, be very cautious when it goes straight away live. If you're quick, there's chances, of course, that you can snipe early entries and then potentially see what kind of happens here. But if you turn on Bybit tomorrow or whatever it is, and you see DOP all the way up at a few 100% gain, which is more than possible, and if you're lucky enough to snipe there, then you've obviously made your money very early. But personally, I don't like to dive straight into those because that tends to be market maker manipulation. What I will look for, and we'll do this on a 4-hour, is basically after that initial kind of spike towards the upside has come, we'll see a potential fall and then a healthy base get established. And you can see, for example, on Aethir, once this healthy base is established within a very short space of time, Aethir then rallies nearly 80%. If you play this carefully, and obviously, like any crypto out there, this is a risk. Do your own research, understand any risks involved. You have a chance to maybe scalp a really good entry. Now, you might be like, well, yeah, but look at the price of Aethir over this period of time. It's not particularly exciting. But like, fair one, in the same time since Aethir launched, Bitcoin's gone down 18%. ICP's down like 36, 37%. And there's a good chance the market might be about to shift. And of all these like projects that are launching in the next few days, there's really nothing that kind of spikes the attention and excitement quite like DOP does. So that's my 2 cents on a project that everyone seems to be talking about right now. Also something that I know people are very wary of with some of these new big launches. Around a third of this project is going to be in circulating supply on day 1 of launch, which is actually pretty big when you compare with the likes of Aethir that's like 9%, ZK Sync at like 17%, and a bunch of others. But it seems to me, with market conditions as they are, this is an opportunity potentially for accumulation of various different projects, whether they're launching today or whether they've been launched for a while, and particularly gearing towards projects that are going to benefit from major catalysts in the market, such as tokenization of real-world assets right now, which is happening on a crazy scale, anything built in the Ethereum ecosystem, which when the ETF eventually goes live, which should be in the coming days, could be another catalyst for seeing growth within that ecosystem. But obviously, like everything in crypto, I'm not certain, so you need to come across and do your own research and identify whether or not this is a decent opportunity, and then go and identify how you can play a decent game to get a good entry, rather than just buying that spike that's inevitably going to happen. And remember, don't turn on the exchange tomorrow and see that something is up 200% and try and buy this tip, okay? Look for a decent entry into this, and I don't think you'll be disappointed, because over the course of this bull market, pretty much 99% of assets are going to be worth significantly more than they are right now, and I'm pretty confident that this one, with its community behind it and what it's trying to achieve, should also do pretty well as well. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Bit of a deep dive into a new project. I'm going to be doing more deep dives over the coming weeks into various other projects. Let me know down below which other projects you want to see me do deep dives for. Hit the like button, subscribe so you can hear about those next deep dives, and I'll see you again soon in another video. Bye-bye.